So you want to buy some clamps and you don't know what to buy? I get it. There's lots of variation, lots of things to choose from. In front of me, I have a pipe clamp, a traditional TBar sash clamp, and a parallel clamp. And I'm just going to quickly go through the advantages and disadvantages of each, try and help you make that decision. Okay, first up, in terms of cost, pipe is the cheapest. That is an advantage for a lot of people. You know, this one here, I don't know, I think it's about 30 bucks, something like that. So if you're buying a bunch of them, that's it's pretty helpful. Also, you can technically remove these pieces and just get some longer pipe. So instead of, say, buying a bunch of 2.4 meter long pipe clamps that you only use twice a year, you can just get a stick of 2.4 meter long pipe, and then you can take these off, put it on the pipe, and again, it saves you money, maybe saves you a little bit of space in the workshop. They're versatile in that way, so that's an advantage. Another advantage is that you have infinite maneuverability on the pipe. You can just grab it, move it into position, and then you tighten up your clamp. It's easy. You don't need to find a pin or, locate something and then chock it all out. These come with little rubber protectors, which are good. Sometimes they will fall off though, so I usually shove some double-sided tape in mine and that keeps them in there. That is, it's nice to have there to protect your timber. The handle clears the tabletop, so when you're turning this, it moves freely. Pretty easy to use. One disadvantage is that because the back swivels around the pipe, sometimes if they're not lined up, that can fold over and become out of alignment. It's not difficult to fix, but when you're dealing with 6 sticks of ironbark, 50 mil thick and 2.4 meters long, and each one takes a person to move, and one of these falls over, that's a big problem, especially if you've got glue on stuff. TBar sash clamp. Been around for years, same as a pipe clamp. They're tough, you'll see them in every workshop. You've got this pin here that locates the tailpiece. So instead of having infinite maneuverability, you're putting it at one of those pin points, and then you're bringing your really long screw here, which is why you have so much there, into position. So that means that you have to move bits and pieces a bit more because you can't put this exactly in position. You're then bringing this face up to meet it. Sometimes that means you need to shove some extra bits of timber in there to fill up that gap because you might be, 2 mil off being able to use this hole here, which means you have to move it one hole back, which moves it by, 70 mil. That's a lot of screw turning, or you fill it up with some timber. So they're strong. They are versatile. For my big panel work and tables, I mainly use these. They can be a bit tippy because they don't have a square edge on the back, only on the front. But, most of the time, you'll see these in a lot of woodworking shops. They're also fairly inexpensive. They cost a little bit more than pipe clamps because, the TBar itself is manufactured rather than just pipe, which is dirt cheap. We actually have a video that compares the different types of sash clamp available, so you can check that out up there. It'll go into some different varieties as well.
Bring the pin up. If you can't get a pin close, you can bring it behind, or if you can get right up close to a piece, you can run it through the tailstop.
As an interesting aside, now that I've talked about pipe and sash clamps, which are both fairly inexpensive, Bessey has made an IBeam sash clamp that kind of has the advantages of both of these clamps, and it is a really solid, well-made clamp. The componentry, the cast iron they're using, the steel beam they're using, everything is high-end. It's the kind of clamp that will be passed down through generations. Subsequently, it costs more than a pipe and a sash clamp that we have here, but it has some very clear advantages. You've got infinite maneuverability like a pipe clamp, but the tailpiece can't twist, so it always stays straight. You have flat edges, which means it never tips over, and you've got a screw that doesn't interfere with the table. There is a whole video describing the difference between the IBeam and a traditional sash clamp. Check that out if you want more detail, but it's just interesting to know that this exists. It's technically a sash clamp, but it is in a little bit of a world of its own. It's a higher end piece of equipment. Beautiful clamp. So pipe and sash, really traditional. You'll see them a lot. These parallel clamps are a bit newer. They haven't been around for as long, and they really offer some big advantages over the pipe and the sash clamp, but they cost a bit more, and that's what you're paying for to get that extra versatility. So you've got big flat clamping faces that are protected, so you're never going to damage your work. They're large and parallel. You don't just have the availability of clamping above that bar, but you can clamp below and to the side. All of those faces are available. That makes it really good for doing panels, cabinetry, anything where you've got finer edges, where you don't want to have to line up these big chunks of metal, which could potentially damage your faces. You've got these protective feet on the bar, which again protects your work. This can be rotated around to be a spreader as well as a clamp. We also have a whole video specifically on parallel clamps, so check that out. It's got a lot more information about why these are worth what they cost. So, they are more expensive than your pipe and sash clamp, but they are a really versatile clamp that offer you a lot of different uses and a lot of efficiencies. So the one thing we haven't really talked about is just clamping strength and force. They'll all do what you need them to do, but there is some differences. Traditional sash clamps, given the shape of that T-bar, will probably offer you the most force with the least flex of that bar. They're a brute instrument. They're very strong. You won't get a lot of flex. They do exactly what they're designed for. A pipe will flex more, but depending on what you're trying to do, it might not be an issue for you. The I-bar here is not going to cause you any problems at all. These are super, super tough. And the steel in these parallel clamps is definitely thinner, narrower than all of these others. So over a really long clamp, you will get some flex in this, but that is maybe what you're sacrificing for the amazing versatility that these offer you. In terms of what you should buy, that really comes down to a lot of factors. If you want a piece of machinery that you will pass down to your grandchildren, the Bessey IBeam clamp will do that. It'll outlive you. If you need some really long clamps that you don't want to cost you a whole fortune and you only use them a couple times a year, pipe clamps are great for that. You can get, 2.4 or even longer stick of pipe and get yourself exceptionally long clamps for a pretty cheap price. T-bars, really tough. They'll last a long time. They are very strong. They lack some versatility. And of course, these panel clamps, for a clamp that you're using all the time in a variety of different ways on cabinets and tables and odd joints, these Bessey parallel clamps just give you so much versatility that you can actually use less clamps overall, or you need less clamps in your shop. So you're going to pay a lot more for them, but they do give you that kind of long-term versatility on a number of different projects. So that's why you might consider something like this. Overall, choice is up to you. We do have a number of videos going into detail about a bunch of these different clamps, so check them out if you still have some questions. Drop into the store, chat to the people in there. They'll have lots of answers for you. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll have plenty more of this kind of stuff for you.